Richard Dawkins went on for Reed Zakaria's CNN show, and he destroyed Ben Carson.
Currently, the Republican presidential candidates, as far as I know, every single one of the declared candidates, with the exception of Trump, about whom one doesn't know which way he would answer, when asked about evolution, essentially say they don't believe it. And Jeb Bush was asked it. He said, well, I sort of believe it, but I don't think it should be taught in schools.
Oh, yeah. Well, this fills me with despair. I mean, this is not something you believe in or not. I mean, this is a fact. It is a fact. It's just as much of a fact as that the Earth goes round the sun. You can't not believe it unless you're ignorant. And I don't believe those presidential candidates are all ignorant. I believe what they're doing is they think that they've got to say that in order to appeal to their constituency. And if that's true, it's deeply depressing. You've just told me that all the Republican candidates except one say they don't believe in evolution. I mean, that's a disgrace. But for a very eminent, distinguished doctor, as he is, to say that, it's even worse. Because, of course, evolution is the bedrock of biology. And biology is the bedrock of medicine. And so for a distinguished doctor to not understand, I have to use the word understand, he clearly doesn't understand the fundamental theorem of his own subject. That is a terrible indictment.
So when people say it's a theory, it's worth pointing out, it's a theory like all of science is a theory in the sense that it does rest on evidence.
Yeah, we've got to stop calling it a theory because the word theory is misunderstood. It's taken to mean hypothesis. Evolution is a fact. It's as simple as that. It is a fact.
Another way of putting it would be, it's a theory that has been confirmed by thousands of pieces of data.
Thousands and thousands of independent, mutually confirming pieces of data.
Carson, I'm dwelling on him because he is a very important Republican candidate, but also because I think he represents what a lot of people think. This represents the height of arrogance of humans to believe that they can understand God's mystery.
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't want to call Mr. Carson arrogant. He's a nice man. I met him, and I liked him. But it is a form of arrogance to say we know what God does. I mean, the only way to know anything is by looking at the evidence. And in this particular case, the evidence is overwhelming. There are plenty of scientific ideas where the evidence is not overwhelming, and there scientists disagree, and it's open to doubt and needs further research. But in the case of evolution, there is no doubt. It is a fact.
I love the way that ended there because it really debunks something that a lot of people wrongly think about Richard Dawkins, which is people say, oh, he's arrogant and he's stubborn and he's so sure he's right about all these different things. No, you heard him say it right there. He's like, yeah, on the issue of evolution, yeah, that one's not debatable. That one, we know the answer. And why is he saying that? Because we know the answer. But he said, well, there are plenty of things where science hasn't figured it out yet, and we're working on it, and we're not sure, and there's bad science, and there's good science. So all these different caveats and hedges and letting people know, I don't know in this area or that area, that's humble. That's not arrogant. That's as humble as you can be. And Richard Dawkins, in his book, The God Delusion, he goes on to say, I forget the exact numbers that he used on his scale, but he goes on to say something to the effect of, on a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being utter certainty there is a God, and 7 being utter certainty there's no God, I'm like a 6. So the guy who's like the poster boy of atheistic arrogance and certitude is not arrogant, and he's not certain on a lot of different things. So it's just not correct when people try to paint some sort of a false equivalence between the religious and the non-religious, where they say, well, your average fundamentalist Muslim or fundamentalist Christian is equal to your average new atheist or so-called fundamentalist atheist, because that's just not the case. One is correct, the other one is not correct, and one is giving you all the hedges and caveats that are humanly possible because he speaks with accuracy. Okay, and then let's dig deeper here because there's some other really interesting stuff. He lays out that there's this fundamental misunderstanding about science and the terminology used in science, where when people say evolution's just a theory, man, they think like, gotcha, that means it hasn't been proven. That means it's not a fact. Wrong. Because the term that they're thinking of in the scientific world would be hypothesis. That's the thing, okay, I came up with this, it's plausible, we don't know if it's true yet. That's hypothesis, not a theory. In the scientific world, theory equals fact. Theory already has all the evidence to back it up. We've already gone through the scientific method, and we have the answer. It's just that science is so fucking humble that even when it's positive, they say, it's just a theory. Again, that directly refutes the idea that, people who believe in science are as arrogant as people who believe in, mythical fairy tales and space fairies and shit. And then I like how earlier he said, I don't believe those Republican presidential candidates are all ignorant. And he's implying that, they're just really doing this to get votes. That's, I think, the one area where I disagree with him. No, see, the thing is, Professor Dawkins, that you've been in this circle for most of your life now where you're surrounded by intelligent people who care about truth and who try to figure out the answers. And it's hard for you to fathom that people like Republican presidential candidates exist who are wholly uninterested in intellectual pursuits and knowledge. So when they're raised to believe in fundamentalist Christianity and they're not interested in science in any way, shape, or form, it's very easy for one to truly adopt the position of creationism or so-called intelligent design, or just to not believe in evolution, because there's so many in their circles that they run in fucking Arkansas and Tennessee and Mississippi and shit. People don't believe in it, and that's the majority position. So they just think no, of course. I mean, only the crazy fucking liberal pinko commie fags believe that shit in New York and California, and prissy little British pricks believe in it. But we're right and they're wrong, man, because Jesus. So I think they really are ignorant. Now, maybe there's some on stage who know, but they're just pandering. But I think most of them are either stupid or ignorant, and they don't care. They don't care about a search for truth. They're more interested in donor money and blowing their donors and, having power and control because they're narcissists through and through. And then, finally, let me just say this. People oftentimes get mad at me because of how, sharp I am in my dismissal of Republicans. But guys, it's not me, it's them. I dismiss them because they insist on debating that which is not debatable. So when Fareed Zakaria says, I think all of them except maybe Trump say they, don't believe in evolution. Okay, that's fucking ring the bell. It's over. I'm done here. Time to go home. You have insisted on debating that which is not debatable. So I'm no longer interested in a further conversation. I mean, when you're that out of bounds on that very fundamental issue, what that shows me is you're going to be, who knows what position you'll take on other settled scientific issues? Who knows what you're going to do on climate change? And we know that all of them don't believe in it. Well, okay, that's a huge issue and you don't even fucking believe in it. I can't trust you. What about, vaccines, you're liable to, as Trump did and Carson did, and he's a fucking doctor, say, well, questionable things, autism. No, not questionable things, not autism. So I can't trust your judgment because on a softball down the center of the plate, it was a swing and a miss. And that's the point. And that's why the Republicans are indeed comical, and Richard Dawkins is 100% correct.